Tonight, President Bola Tinubu announces plan to reorder Nigeria's foreign policy framework. State government begins mandatory profiling of automobile technicians. World Health Organization renews commitment to eliminate hepatitis by 2030. And abroad, King Charles III set to give historic address to United States lawmakers. Good evening and welcome to the Delta Television Main News. You can follow our news online on Facebook and YouTube at Delta Broadcasting Service Asaba, or you can visit our website at www.dbsasaba.com. Joy Ocheyi is my name. Thank you for joining us. President Bola Tinubu has announced plans to reorder Nigeria's foreign policy framework known as the 4D Doctrine, shifting its focus from democracy, development, demography, and diaspora to demography, development, diaspora, and democracy. The president stated this at the opening of an induction course for newly appointed ambassadors and high commissioners in Abuja. President Tinubu, represented by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. George Akume, said the adjustment placed Nigerians at the center of foreign policy and was aimed at ensuring that international engagements delivered more tangible benefits to citizens. He charged the envoys to aggressively pursue foreign investment, strengthen strategic partnerships, and reposition Nigeria's global image in line with evolving global realities, and urged the diplomats to adopt a results-driven approach, promote trade and technology transfer, and ensure the welfare of Nigerians in the diaspora remained a top priority. President Tinubu also stressed accountability, professionalism, and measurable outcomes in diplomatic missions, noting that the world was watching Nigeria's performance on the global stage. The House of Representatives has approved President Bola Tinubu's request to secure a $516.3 million foreign loan for construction of sections of the Sokoto-Badagry Superhighway. The approval was granted at today's plenary following the presentation of a report by the Deputy Chairman of the House Committee on AIDS, Loans and Debts Management, Mr. Abdullahi Rashid. President Tinubu had earlier sought the National Assembly's approval for the facility from Deutsche Bank to support the road project. The federal government said the loan would help fast-track the completion of critical infrastructure aimed at improving transportation, boosting economic activities, and enhancing connectivity across parts of the country. The state's government has announced commencement of mandatory profiling for automobile technicians and other transport-related artisans across the state. Those affected include auto mechanics, spray painters, motor spare parts dealers, upholsterers, vulcanizers, auto electricians, and other related operators. The exercise will be carried out through the Directorate of Transport, following the approval for the extension of the appointment of Babs Field Corporate Ventures as consultant for the exercise. A statement by the Director, Public Communication and Functional Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Information, Mrs. Stella Macaulay, said the exercise was in line with the Delta State Internal Revenue Service Law 2020 and was aimed at developing a comprehensive database of operators as well as enhancing revenue generation for the state. The statement explains that Babsfield Corporate Ventures had been empowered to profile the affected artisans on behalf of the Directorate of Transport to ensure compliance with established standards. It directed all affected individuals and groups to comply with the directive, warning that failure to do so would attract sanctions in line with existing laws and regulations, while full enforcement of the exercise would commence on Monday, May 4. Troops of the 63 Brigade Sector 1 Joint Task Force South-South Operation Delta Safe have recovered arms and ammunition from suspected criminals during an operation at the Gideme community in Warri Southwest local government area. According to a statement signed by the Acting Assistant Director, Army Public Relations, 63 Brigade Nigerian Army Asaba, Captain Iliyasu Bawa Rijau, the operation followed reports of sporadic shootings in the community. The statement disclosed that troops, acting on credible intelligence, recovered 4 AK-47 rifles, 6 magazines, 106 rounds of 7.62 mm special ammunition, 2 knives, 10 machetes, and 4 rainbows, while 2 suspects were arrested. While commending the troops for their resilience, the brigade reiterated its commitment to tackling criminal activities in the region, warning individuals or groups involved in illegal possession of arms or other criminal acts to desist, as efforts will be intensified to crack them down. The Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) has said even a monthly salary of 1 million naira will be meaningless to workers without an approved economic condition. NLC President Comrade Joe Jairo, who made the assertion while speaking with newsmen, said rising inflation had continued to erode workers' purchasing power, making it difficult for many to afford necessities such as food, transportation, and housing, adding that workers needed a currency that could sustain them and their families to the end of the month. Comrade Jairo added that negotiations for a new national minimum wage must follow legal procedures and a stipulated review cycle, and called on the federal government to urgently address inflation and rising fuel prices. He stressed that Labour was more concerned about the value of the naira than nominal wage increases. A journalist and human rights activist, Comrade Itive Ekpokpobi, has formally declared his intention to contest for a seat in the State House of Assembly representing Isoko South 1 constituency in the 2027 general elections under the All Progressives Congress (APC). The former Senior Special Assistant SSA on Youth Mentorship to Governor Sharif Oborori, who resigned his position to pursue his political ambition, made the declaration during a visit to Ole, where he was received by women, elders, and youths at the party secretariat.
Comrade Ekpokpobe was received by women, elders, and youths at the party secretariat, where he addressed them. Known for its advocacy for the Isoko nation at the federal level, the House of Assembly hopeful highlighted his role in championing efforts that led to the federal government awarding a contract to Isoko stakeholders for the protection of crude oil pipelines in the area. He commended Governor Sharif Oborori for the execution and completion of a water scheme at Ole, with over 20 pump heads servicing the community, a request he initiated to the governor, adding that his people were grateful for the project.
His development strategies in Delta State are monumental. In a space of barely 2 to 3 years, look at the level of achievement recorded in the state. Our very governor, Ukodo, is a talk and do governor. He promised the people that when he becomes governor, he will make the water available. And in no distant time, in a space of 3 months, that water was completed. You know that I'm very qualified to handle this office, to be in charge of this office, to attract development to our people. The only name on the street now to speak is Itive. Itive Bufobia. So I also call on the public as you are going, let those who are not aware know that it is necessary that I'm the most viable candidate for this office and they should do the needful.
Comrade Ekpokpobe expressed appreciation to his supporters for identifying with him, even as he donated a public address system to the party. In his remarks, the chairman of the APC in the area, Honorable Victor Ikelega, alongside members of his executive, commended Ekpokpobe for his advocacy and efforts in promoting the inclusion of the Isoko nation at the federal level, saying such efforts had helped position the Isoko nation as a key stakeholder deserving of greater benefits from Nigerian oil wealth.
When IDU went to meet with the Secretary of the Federal Government of Nigeria, I saw you there. And that meeting was a very successful one. And they told me that you facilitated it. They said so.
The World Health Organization, WHO, has renewed its commitment to ending the spread of viral hepatitis by 2030, saying the disease remains a major global health challenge despite progress recorded in recent years. According to a new WHO report presented at the World Hepatitis Summit, hepatitis B and C cost over 1 million deaths globally in 2024, while more than 4,900 new infections were recorded daily. The report noted that new hepatitis B infections had dropped by 32% since 2015, while hepatitis C-related deaths declined by 12%. It added that hepatitis B prevalence among children under 5 years had fallen to 0.6% due to improved vaccination coverage. WHO Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus said stronger political commitment and reliable funding were needed to eliminate the disease, noting that about 287 million people were living with chronic hepatitis B or C in 2024, with Africa accounting for 68% of new hepatitis B cases. He also expressed concerns that many infected persons remain undiagnosed and untreated because of weak healthcare systems, stigma, and limited access to treatment. Still to come on the Delta Television main news, King Charles III set to give historic address to United States lawmakers. Details of this and more shortly. Stay with us.
I'm very, very impressed with what we have seen in this MFO Phase 2. What I can see here is that they are not economizing the materials that we have sufficiently provided for in the Bill of Engineering, Measurement and Evaluation, and that is what we expect of every contractor, whether indigenous or otherwise. You must be able to execute the project in such a way that it stands the test of time, and for Deltans to indeed reap the benefit of what Oborowori intends. Our coming here today is to ensure that the different contractors are able to meet up with the schedule of work as to when they are supposed to complete. And then secondly, to also ensure that they are moving in line with the Bill of Engineering, Measurement and Evaluation. Oborowori is doing it to open up the rural communities, connect them to their kids and kin in the city, and make also life much more livable for them.
As a host community, try as much as possible to guide your utterances. No company can be intimidated. The companies are also urged to keep to their social responsibility, the corporate social responsibility. I always say it, keep to it. If you keep to the corporate social responsibility, no host community will hold you ransom.
Thank you for staying on. You are watching the Delta Television main news. If you're just joining us, and thank you for staying. We're going straight to the foreign scene. Britain's monarch, King Charles III and Queen Camilla, are set to attend a White House ceremony on the second day of their state visit to the United States. The visit will feature a bilateral meeting between the King and U.S. President Donald Trump ahead of a historic address to U.S. lawmakers. The monarch is expected to use the address to call for reconciliation and renewed ties between the United Kingdom and the United States amid strained relations linked to tensions over Iran. Observers say the visit represents one of the most significant diplomatic moments of the king's reign, with high stakes for both nations. The trip also marks the first British state visit to the United States since 2007, when Queen Elizabeth II was honored with a 21-gun salute and a state banquet. King Charles and Queen Camilla were formally received at the White House on Monday by Donald Trump and the First Lady. Iran has declared that the world now recognizes its strength amidst the ongoing tensions with the United States and its allies. The country's foreign minister, Mr. Abbas Araghchi, said Tehran remained firm and powerful despite the conflict. Speaking during a visit to Russia, Mr. Araghchi noted that the United States President, Mr. Donald Trump, had requested negotiations, noting that Washington was here to achieve its objectives in the crisis. He described Iran as stable and solid, adding that the situation had demonstrated the country's resilience on the global stage, even as tensions continue with the United States and Israel. Meanwhile, Mr. Araghchi reaffirmed Iran's strong alliance with the Russian president, Mr. Vladimir Putin, saying both nations would sustain their strategic partnership as the conflict unfolds. And back home in business, the federal government has projected that aviation fuel prices could range between 1,760 naira and 2,037 naira per litre, following efforts to address supply and pricing challenges in the sector. The projection emerged after a high-level stakeholders meeting convened by the Ministry of Aviation and Airspace Management, involving key agencies, airline operators and fuel marketers across the aviation and petroleum value chain. A technical committee set up after the meeting recommended measures to stabilize the market, noting that the expected price range PIP varies slightly by location, with Lagos projected at between 1,760 naira and 1,988 naira per litre, while Abuja could see prices between 1,809 naira and 2,037 naira per litre, adding that prices may fluctuate due to global market conditions and operational costs. The committee advised that fuel marketers sell directly to airline operators and called for a review of pricing components to ensure stability. It also recommended closer collaboration among aviation regulators to streamline operations and reduce the number of distributors, while proposing a 30-day credit facility for airlines and the inclusion of aviation fuel in the federal government's Naira for Crude initiative to ease financial pressure in the sector. Millions of telecommunications subscribers across Nigeria are expected to regain access to airtime and data lending services following a federal high court ruling ordering their restoration on major networks. The Federal High Court sitting in Lagos directed telecommunications operators, including MTN Nigeria and Airtel Nigeria, to immediately restore the borrow credit and borrow data services earlier suspended. Delivering judgment, Justice Ibrahim Musa held that The suspension of the services without proper regulatory backing was unfair to consumers who depended on them for emergency communication. Some subscribers welcomed the development, describing the ruling as timely and beneficial, especially for low-income earners who relied on the services to remain connected. MTN and Airtel are yet to officially announce when full implementation of the court order will begin. And in sports, Nigeria's Falconets have arrived in Ekene ahead of their 2026 FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup qualifying fixture against Malawi. The players and officials arrived yesterday after 3 weeks of intensive campaign in Abuja. Coach Moses Aduku and his team are expected to hold their first training session later tonight at the practice pitch of the Remo Stars Stadium. Nigeria will host Malawi in the first leg of the qualifier at the stadium on Saturday, while the return leg is scheduled for May 9 in Malawi. The aggregate winners will qualify for 2026 FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup to be hosted by Poland from September 5 to 26. That's our news. Here is a thought for the day. Positive thinking will let you do everything better than negative thinking will. That's the thought for the day. Just before we go, here are the highlights of the news. President Bola Tinubu has announced plan to reorder Nigeria's foreign policy framework known as the 4D Doctrine, shifting its focus from democracy, development, demography, and diaspora to demography, development, diaspora, and democracy. The president stated this at the opening of an induction course for newly appointed ambassadors and high commissioners in Abuja. The state government has announced commencement of mandatory profiling for automobile technicians and other transport-related artisans across the state. The World Health Organization, WHO, has renewed its commitment to ending the spread of viral hepatitis by 2030, saying the disease remains a major global health challenge despite progress recorded in recent years. And from abroad, we did report that Britain's monarch, King Charles III, and Queen Camilla are set to attend a White House ceremony on the second day of their state visit to the United States. You can also follow our news online on Facebook at Delta Broadcasting Service Asaba and also on YouTube at Delta Broadcasting Service Asaba. Or you can visit our website at www.dbsasaba.com. Thank you so much for watching. On behalf of the entire news crew, Joy Uche is smiling. Good night.